So what's one thing that you found shocking in this one?
Gyms are making more revenue. Excellent. Gym owners are making more profit. Fantastic. Gym coaches are not being paid more yet. The first act of coaching is coaching somebody to set foot in your gym, and that's lead nurture. And the second act of coaching is coaching them to commit to changing their lives, and that's sales. The third act of coaching is like push your knees out in the squat. There is going to be a backside of that within the next 2 years where some of our best clients will not trust what they see online. They won't be trusting digital content. They will be very wary of using AI and chatbots, and they will defer back to person-to-person interaction.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. I am your host, John Franklin, coming at you with an annually recurring episode with my mentor, somebody I look up to, and a lot of people look up to in the industry. It is Mr. Chris Cooper of Two Brain Business, and he is here to talk about the state of the industry. This is an annual report that Two Brain Business puts out. It is very expensive and time consuming to make, and it is just given to the gym world as this beautiful gift. Well, first, hello, Chris, and second, why do you do that? This sounds expensive.
Hey, John. Well, I couldn't do it alone. You put a lot of work into this too, and your team at Kilo contributes really heavily. So thanks for that. I do it because the first step to changing the gym industry is starting from truth. And I think that by publishing this every year, we can kind of like set a solid foundation for discussion on what's actually going to improve the gym business or not. If you don't start from data, you're just starting from a guess. And we in the fitness industry can't afford to guess anymore. That's all.
So Two Brain Business has mentored thousands of gyms. You yourself just did a video on 20 lessons you learned 20 years into the industry. If Chris Cooper was starting a gym from scratch today, what would that look like?
Well, I think that's actually a great segue into this too, but I would probably start with about 2,000 square feet. I would be starting with, the foundational equipment. I don't think I would have to invest more than $15,000, a couple of racks, barbells, and I would be going straight into semi-private coaching. I think that's the step that I probably skipped when I was trying to, sort out my business back in 2009. And what led me to that is not that, it's just such the newest idea or anything. It's like, here's exactly what the data shows to be the simplest, most profitable model that's sustainable long-term.
So are group classes dead?
No, but running big group classes is the hardest model out there. If you want to run a sustainable gym, it's obvious. You've got really high expenses. So you're going to have to be marketing all the time. The churn rate is the highest, which means, you're going to be marketing all the time. And the margins are tight, which means it's very hard to find, train, and keep coaches long-term. So you've got staff turnover, you've got high client turnover. And for many days running that model, it's going to feel like only the landlord and the government are making any money off you. So if that's the model that you want to choose, because it seems like it's more fun, consider other models. If that's the model that you want to choose for another reason, we'll help you for sure. It's just, you've chosen the hardest road.
Can people who are running a group model successfully pivot into a different one?
I think so. Yeah, we've seen that happen a few times already. There's steps to take. The first step is start offering one-on-one training. And what that's going to do is make your employment stickier. So you're going to keep your staff longer by making better opportunities for them. It's also going to keep your top 10%, like your best clients, will stay around longer because they'll have more one-on-one opportunities. And it'll also set you up long-term to move into semi-private or small group if you want to go that far with it. But we've been helping gyms do big group and one-on-one together now for as long as we've been around, well over a decade. I can remember you and I actually sitting in the back room of this sweaty gym in Chicago, 2017 or maybe 2018. And it was like, there's 50 ways to make a gym better. What are the most important 3? And it was like, add one-on-one training to complement group training.
So you brought up marketing and how group, one of the challenges with it is you got to get more volume on the front end. Do you think most gyms have a lead problem? One of the most common things I hear when people come through the door looking for help at Two Brain or on the Kilo side of things, people say, if I just got some more bodies in the door, I could close them. Do you think the problem is leads, or is it something else?
Less and less, I think it's leads. I think leads is a really common buzzword, and it's just something that people hang their hat on. And the first time I talk to people, I'm sure when people are coming into Kilo, they're probably mentioning leads too. But the reality is that the average gym is getting 32 to 36 leads per month, and they're only getting 6 of those leads to actually book an appointment, and then they're only closing 2 of those leads too. So there's something there that can be addressed in lead nurture, and I would be addressing that before I even sought more leads. You really want to fix the cup that you're pouring the water into before you say, pour more water, pour more water, pour more water. And so while you can fix your lead nurture problem in 2 to 3 weeks, I think it's worth investing that 2 to 3 weeks into fixing your lead nurture problem before you start investing your time and money into getting more leads. So short answer, not really. It's not their top priority that they think it is.
So for those of you listening, I am pulling up the guide now so Chris can take a look. We publish all this stuff on YouTube. So if you want to hop over there and see the actual guide itself, you can do that. Or Chris, if someone actually wants a copy of the guide, what's the link for that?
twobrainbusiness.com/data, DATA.
So one of the things that you put in a lot of these sections are these pie charts that show survey respondents based off of the model they have. So right now we have it pulled up is survey respondents lead source breakdown. So it's showing where different gym types get your leads. Just looking at this, what kind of jumps out at you?
Number one, paid ads are still working. There are a lot of people who in our industry say, paid ads don't work. They haven't worked since 2018 or whatever. They certainly do work. And when you're good at them, you have a distinct advantage because a lot of other gym owners are giving up on them. That said, they're not your first step to getting more clients. And what I really like from here is looking at all these different types of gyms, big group, small group, one-on-one or other. Everybody is still counting on referrals for at least a quarter of their leads. But very few people are actively chasing referrals. So it's a quarter of their leads, but it could be a lot more if they were active about it instead of just waiting and hoping that your amazing programming, getting amazing results is going to turn into amazing lead flow, magically. So those are the two things that really stick out to me. Obviously, people could do better at all of them.
So across the board, the lowest amount of leads that gym owners reported getting came from content.
Yeah.
Yet content is probably the number one thing you recommend gym owners do to improve their marketing. Why is that?
Well, two things. I mean, content makes all of the other funnels easier. So if somebody sees your ad and they're already familiar with your brand because they've read something or watched something or listened to something that you posted, that ad is going to have a far greater effect. If you're doing social media posting and they can read a little blurb and it's interesting, or they see a picture that's good, or they watch a reel and it's interesting, but that's where the road ends, you're not really building a lot of trust there. You're getting awareness, but that's about it. But if they can go from your Instagram to your blog or to your podcast or to your YouTube and actually watch a longer form video solving the problem that they care about, now you're looking at somebody who's interested in becoming a client. And especially when, you're the only one in town that's producing that kind of stuff, you have the appeal of an authority. In Catalyst, in Sault Ste. Marie, where I live, if you want to learn anything about fitness and you ask any kind of fitness question on any search engine, and you're very likely to get an answer from Catalyst because none of the other gyms are posting content, and I've been doing it now for 25 years. So that gives us this massive advantage. It's not a play that you're going to see a return from today, but over time, it's so big that it can push all other, competition to the side. And then finally, if you're counting on referrals, it really helps to have that content out there, because if one of my clients mentions to their best friend, I go to Catalyst, everybody in my city knows what that is. And so they don't have to explain what Catalyst is to their friends because I've already done that. So in the age of AI and people doing more, queries through ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, it's more important than ever to have a high base of content out there, because now the bots are doing the searching for you And so you don't get the SEO play that you used to do, or the links to your website nearly as often. What you do get are chatbots or, LLMs searching for you and then giving the client the answer right there with like a link. So you want to make sure that you've got a lot of content out there, or you're going to get skipped over.
So when we look at the data from last year versus this year, and so this is Kilo data. So, we're looking back and we can actually see this is not self-reported gym owner data. Mean lead conversion rate is up year over year. Yet, like you said in the beginning, the mean in terms of leads, average gyms getting over 30, but they're only getting 6 calls on the calendar.
Yeah.
Why is lead conversion still the perpetual problem for most gym owners getting calls on the calendar?
Well, I think it's because we're actually good at getting more leads now. Kilo websites capture a lot more leads than I ever captured on my own. Even, I was building decent websites myself. But what happens next is really the critical part. So the lead comes into the funnel and we don't call them and we don't message them and we don't email them and they never hear from us again. We just literally like drop that lead. Or, maybe they get an automated text through Kilo, which is great, and it's kind of a safety net. And now they get into your sequence, but nobody actually calls them. They never hear from a human. And so, they just stay in your funnel for a long time. If you consider like what it takes somebody to book an appointment, drive their car across town, tell their friends where they're going, actually show up, cross the threshold to your gym and sit down. I mean, they are ready to sign up. They are not there to gather more information. So the fact that gyms are not able to get 2/3 of those people to sign up, to me, tells me that there's like a skill gap there. And most of that's mental. You and I know this. The first act of coaching is coaching somebody to set foot in your gym, and that's lead nurture. And the second act of coaching is coaching them to commit to changing their lives, and that's sales. The third act of coaching is like push your knees out in the squat. But a lot of gym owners don't see that. And they think, I didn't get in this to be a marketer. I got into this to be a coach, but that is coaching. And a lot of gym owners just don't understand that. And that's why these data points show so much opportunity in lead nurture and sales training.
Hey, gym owners, are you looking for a way to generate more leads, close more sales, and increase client retention? Introducing Kilo. We are a software company that gives gym owners the tools they need to increase revenue and run a successful gym. With Kilo, you get a beautifully designed website to capture more leads, an integrated marketing automation platform to increase sales, and our gym management software so you can add new client memberships, process payments, and organize your class schedule. If you're ready to upgrade your gym management software, book a call at usekilo.com.
One of the things talked about in the report said it's easier to get every client you have to pay you an extra $10 versus getting 10 new clients. Right. So what is the best play in the Chris Cooper playbook for getting each of your clients to give you $10 more every month?
Well, that play can be different depending on where you live. And so page 13 of the guide, we break down like where revenue is coming from for different gyms in different parts of the world. So if I'm in Australia and I'm looking at the little, pie chart that's right next to the pie chart for Canada, and I see like, wow, 93% of revenue in a CrossFit gym or, a big group training gym is coming from group memberships. But in Canada, you've got like 5% coming from small group PT. You've got merchandise coming, 3% there, etc. Like maybe I can boost my revenue by 8% just by offering those two things. The big play is always your core pricing. When you raise your rates by $5, you don't give a share of that to the landlord or the government or the bank. You keep all of it. And so any little move with increasing your rates for everybody has a profound effect on your bottom line and your sustainability and your ability to pay coaches. And so that's the big lever is raising your rates. Most gyms are undercharging. You should be at about $205 a month for a group training membership. And everybody who hears this is immediately going to jump to excuses why their gym isn't there. Well, I live in the wrong place. I live in the poorest county of the poorest state in America. I live in Australia. And the reality here is that most of the time, the barrier to charging that amount is not the customer, but the coach, And so like we published this guide to show you where you should be. And if you don't think you can get there, well, that's when you probably need a mentor to help you mentally, and then also to like frame this for future clients. So yeah, I mean, this chart shows you where to look to make more money.
So you mentioned that you yourself would do semi-private if you were starting from scratch. Say, you said it's a step you skip. We talked a little bit about marketing. One of the things that I'm seeing here is they get about the same amount of leads and they book the same amount of leads. So is the main difference in the model, like the main reason the semi-private has an advantage over a group training gym, or the data is trending better? Is it simply because the ARM is higher, or is there more to it than that?
Well, yeah, it's a combination of ARM and expenses. Like you just don't need as many clients. The clients pay a lot more and you don't need as much space. So here's what that looks like in real life, right in your gym. If you're not paying the landlord for 10,000 square feet and you're only renting 2,000, 2,500, and your clients are paying personal training rates, right? They're paying for coaching instead of like group attendance. That creates a big margin. And that means you can pay your staff a lot more and still do better and still spend less time marketing because these clients stick around longer. So, when I talk about profitability and sustainability, a lot of gym owners just kind of, they zone out. But the real opportunity here is to pay your staff way better. And, in my gym, I look at my staff and they're doing semi-private. They're making 80 to 120 bucks an hour. And then we also run 3 group classes a day, just kind of as a catch-all. And they go to coach those classes and they're making like 36. It's a no-brainer for them, which they would rather do. Even the ones who've been with me for 15 or 16 years, they just want to coach semi-private all the time too. And, we call it a semi-private because we've had group training before, and selling small group training in a gym where you're selling big group training is a challenge. We can go into that too if you want to. But, the bottom line here is like, I didn't dream up semi-private training. I didn't dream up small group coaching. I should have picked up. That's what Glassman was doing back in 2006, 2007, but I didn't understand it. My brain skipped that move. And so I had to pivot later on. But we published this data not to support my ideas, but to reveal what's actually happening out there. And that's what it's revealing this year, is that small group and semi-private are really growing and growing and growing, and more gyms are pivoting to that.
Yeah, let's talk about the stat that you brought up, that it's very difficult to do small group when you offer big group. I mean, what the data shows to me is that every gym is doing small group, but just charging for big groups. Can you
exactly? Yeah.
Can you walk through this chart here that for the people listening?
Yeah, John. So what page of the guide are you looking at there, man?
40.
Okay, you're way ahead. So yeah, here's what's happening, right? So if you look at like the average number of people that most gyms have in their groups, and I'm talking a median because if we looked at the mean, it would be like 3. But so most group attendance is like, 6 people, right? And if you look at the data on page 39, it's between 7 and 9 people coming to your groups. Okay, that's cool. That's a pretty small group. And so actually, if you look at page 40, it's even better. So that's 6.6 people in a class, okay? So let's say that you're running a CrossFit gym or a boot camp or a HIIT class or a kettlebell class, and you got 6 people in your average class. And now you say, oh, actually, this isn't really sustainable, running all these classes with 4 to 6 people in them. I'm not making very much money. We're going to switch to small group. And you say to the client, okay, so now we're going to put you in a small group of 6 where you're getting more one-on-one attention from the coach. The programming is altered around a little bit, and the price is twice as much as you're currently paying. The member is going to say, but I thought I was getting all that already at my current rate. Why would I go from group to small group? What the heck is the difference? And so if you're running like a group class model, you probably want to pivot to semi-private. You probably want to start by having one-on-one training and then move to semi-private. There's distinguishing name so that they know that it's different. There's distinguishing characteristics of semi-private. Everybody's got their own program, but we're working out together with a coach. And they'll keep all the community vibe and feeling and high fives and stuff, but also like they'll be working on a customized program for them. what we've found in Two Brain is just it's an easier pivot to go from big group to semi-private than big group to small group.
And so up here, it's saying the mean classes attended per month by big group clients. So it says like the average person in your gym only come in about 2 times a week. I've said for a little while now, I don't think unlimited memberships are a good business decision. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Agree. Yeah, it comes down to language, right? So let's hear your reason first. I'm sure that they're the same.
I mean, I'm going back to 2015, Two Brain pricing. Like we're trying to figure out how much money we're making per class, right? And this is the era of CrossFit where someone would come in and they train 6 times a week.
Yeah.
Right. And that person is using your chalk, breaking your equipment, taking up the most space, wanting to do open gym in the back, and deterring the average client from coming through and making some of your average clients want to churn out. Right.
Yeah.
Like I think you should pay in line with utilization. And I think utilization is best formulated on a per class basis. And the reality is, like, again, I'm by no means a training expert. I am just a almost 40-year-old person with back issues. Like I would say your average desk jockey probably shouldn't be working out 6 times a week anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. That pricing model came from fitness methods that are more choreography than skill acquisition. So for example, spin, you want to have an unlimited membership because the more often people come to spin class, like the more value they find in their membership. Kids karate classes, which is where, CrossFit actually got the big group model from. You're basically running a choreographed class. Everybody kicks at the exact same time and everybody punches at the exact same time. And if somebody's out of sync, like they're probably going to hurt their neighbor because they're packed in so much. That doesn't work in a high skilled coaching environment nearly as well, unless you've got like a Saturday workout where you can put 30 people in and you're going to be doing box jumps and kettlebell swings and there's no complicated barbell movement and you're scaling for intensity instead of complexity. That can work. The problem is that most of the time when somebody sells an unlimited membership, it's because the owner doesn't want to take the time to do sales consultations and actually prescribe what's best for the client. They want to have one option because it's easier for them instead of being like simpler or what the client actually needs. So the unlimited membership thing has been a nightmare for a lot of gym owners because the term unlimited can mean different things. Like, there's these horror stories of gym owners trying to add personal training and the client saying, okay, well, when can I book an appointment? I've got an unlimited membership. Like, give me the personal training for free and give me the nutrition coaching for free. And also the Sunday barbell club is free because I've got this unlimited membership. And why can't I get access? Why can't I come, And it's impossible for the gym owner to actually get some leverage in their business. All they can do is work more and more and more for the same money. They're usually underpriced anyway. The term unlimited has caused all kinds of problems in the industry for very little value.
The flip side of that's probably worth discussing is in the report you say attendance predicts churn. Does that mean if you use the gym 6 times, you're less likely to cancel than someone using it twice? Or does that mean something different?
Yeah, man, this is such a good question. So it's really what you're measuring is not total attendance, but total adherence. So the difference is if I pay for 3 visits a week and I come to 3 visits a week every single week, my retention is going to be good. If I pay for 3 a week and I'm coming twice a week, my retention is probably going to be poor. And the question you need to ask yourself is, are people using the sessions that they pay for? So if I am paying for 5 sessions a week and I only come 3 times, I'm going to think like, wow, I'm really not using this membership. Even though I'm still coming more often than other people who are, paying for twice a week and showing up all the time. So the question you really want to ask is not how many times does somebody show up, but how many times do they use their full membership every month? That's the predictor of retention.
So a 2 time a week person, someone paying for 2 times a week, using it 2 times a week is just as likely to stick around as someone or is more likely to stick around than someone who's paying for unlimited and using it 2 times a week because
Exactly.
they have 100% adherence. Is that what
Yeah.
we're saying?
Yeah, there's this gap between what they're using and what they're paying for. And the smaller that gap is, the more likely they are to stick around because they're literally getting value. And so in that sense, if you're doing a goal review with somebody and they're paying for, 3 times a week, or let's say they're paying for unlimited, but they're only coming 3 times a week, it's actually a good move to say to them, hey, look, you should be on our 3 times a week membership because that's all you're using right now. And when we talk again in 90 days, if you think that you could use the unlimited membership, we'll put you back up to that. That's a strong retention play. And yeah, you're going to, it might cost you $20 a month or something. But the reality is you're going to have that client around for many, many more months if you're actively meeting with them and saying, here's what you need right now, upgrading, downgrading their membership according to what's best for them.
So one thing that you've said for a long time, and it's something you've publicly taken heat about, is this idea that you only need 150 members to make $100,000 a year as a gym owner. Do you still believe that? And how has your feelings about semi-private and small group changed that thought?
Yeah. So if anything, I think you need even fewer clients if you're running like a small group personal training gym. So if you go to page 18 of this guide, you want to start off with a model. So you want to start off with a spreadsheet. It can be basic, and you can even do this on the back of a napkin. If I have 150 members, what do I need to charge to be able to pay myself and my family what they need? Okay, well, what if I want a little bit of help? What if I want a part-time coach to take 20 classes a week? What do I need to charge now? And you just use that to make your calculations and land on the right price. Now, I'm not stopping anybody from getting that 151st member, and I'm not saying that getting to 200 members is bad, but if you start that calculation, the most basic math you'll ever do in your business, if you start that calculation thinking like, oh, I'm going to get 300 members. I saw somebody online talking about 300 members. I'm going to put that in. What's going to happen is you're going to say, well, if I need 300 members, I only have to charge $79 a month. You're going to wind up with this low margin, extremely high churn for clients and staff business. And you're not going to get to 300 members anyway. So you're either going to be losing money or working for next to nothing or asking your coaches to volunteer or calling your landlord at 6 a.m. and saying, geez, Keith, I can't make my rent payment this month. And I use the term Keith because that was literally what I had to say to my landlord, Keith, when I couldn't make the rent payment that month. So, if you look at here's the average number of clients that a gym actually has. That number went up a little bit this year to 129, but it's not even close to 300. You need to have some kind of mathematical plan, even if it's just pen and pencil or pencil and paper, whatever, saying here's what I need to charge. You need to work that out mathematically. And unfortunately, a lot of people just aren't even doing the math. And when they do it in their head and they use a number like 300. Make your business profitable and sustainable at 150. Focus on that first. And then once you're there, you can say, okay, well, what would happen if I got to 200? What would that allow me to do? And build up from there. If you make a plan to be successful at 150, you're not going to go out and rent a space that's way too big. Buy way more equipment than you need. Take out these loans or, God forbid, seek out a partner because you don't have the money to pay for it. Start off by making a plan according to these numbers, build your business plan around 150 members if you've got a group coaching gym. Plan to break even in fewer than 50 members. You should be profitable and taking home a good wage at 100 members. And at 150 members, you should be making a good profit, probably paying for a full-time staff person and working 40 hours a week or less at your business. But of course, if you run small group or PT gym, those target numbers will be even lower because you need less space, less equipment, less processing stuff, fees, fewer clients to do it. So you set your targets even lower.
So guys, if you want these done for you, we actually have a resource in TwoBrain to do that. If you just go into Google and write 5 ways to make 100K, TwoBrain, that first thing that pops up there, that's Chris sharing his spreadsheets and models for 5 different ones. So if you want to do that, just head over to Google and type in 5 ways to make 100K, TwoBrain. So we've been doing this guide for, I don't know, is this the 6th edition, 5th edition?
Yeah. Well, it's actually the 7th, but the first one was 2018. And I just basically published numbers from inside Two Brain. And so the data set was, I don't know how big was Two Brain in 2018, like 300, 350 gyms. And it was just basically like, here's what we've learned. We weren't formal about the data. I think I was using mean numbers instead of median. And after that is when people started approaching us and saying, like, how can we be part of this movement? And so we started getting data from different software companies or different other sources too. Like back then, like some brands would say, oh, we've got data, we've got 30 gyms, we can contribute that data and share it too. So this is actually the 7th one, but it's the best one by far.
So what's one thing that you found shocking in this one? Like, what was the stat that you were kind of like, made you scratch your head a little bit?
Scratching my head is gyms are making more revenue. Excellent. Gym owners are making more profit. Fantastic. Gym coaches are not being paid more yet. And I'm curious to see what happens next year. I think it's probably just a long tail effect because I've never met a gym owner who's gotten into this like for themselves to just make more money. Never, ever. They're usually generous to a fault, sometimes, to death. And they overpay a lot of the staff a lot of times. Now we're finally starting to see this gap where gym owners are getting paid more and the staff hasn't risen to that level yet. So there's a couple things there. It could just be that it's a long tail effect and in the next quarter, staff will start getting paid more. It could also be that gyms are running with fewer staff now, which is really interesting. And it could possibly be too that gym owners are finally starting to pay themselves, which they need to do.
And if there was something in this guide that could be like weaponized to give bad advice, so a piece of data that may be misinterpreted by somebody else to tell them something that may not be correct, what would that be?
Oh, that's going to happen. It happens every year. Sometimes people do videos talking about this guide as if it's their data and their work. And that used to bug me, but now it's like, we're helping gym owners. But when they take things out of context and try to weaponize it, that's what you're going to see. So, for example, like the conversation we just had about paying staff, they could easily flip to that page and say like, oh, Two Brain is recommending, now that you only pay your staff 35% of your revenue. And we're not recommending that at all. Like, data doesn't exist to support a point that we're trying to make. Data exists to like reveal the truth. And that's what this report reveals. What does it mean that gym owners are making more and their coaches haven't kept up? We'll see next year. That's why this keeps getting more and more important every single year. Is it a long tail effect? We don't know, right? And we're not telling you like this is the answer. Another place that, in the past has been kind of like weaponized is people making the case for small group. So here's a great example. I'll show up to a seminar sometimes and the host of the seminar or another speaker will say, wow, Two Brain wants you to sell high ticket stuff. That's all they're about. They want you to raise your rates. They don't care about your community. And I mean, of course, that's crap. All we're doing is reporting the truth here. Obviously, they've got their own axe to grind or something, and it benefits them to say that Two Brain has a bias. We don't have a bias. We're here to uncover what actually works, not to force a model or promote any model on anybody. So
let's talk about, the people who'd be weaponizing this probably have something to sell you. I mean,
1,000%.
we exist to help gym owners make more profit, live easier lifestyles. Based off of this, profit has been trending up. Median is peeking its head over 50,000 for the first time in the history of the guide, which is good. But that's still about half of what we think it needs to be for a gym owner to live a comfortable life. So if you're someone who's grinding around working 40 hours, which is about what the median gym owner works, and you're stuck at that 50 grand a year mark, what do you do? What do you do to get going again? Because that's a common thing we hear from gym owners. Like, I'm just feeling stuck. I'm feeling like I've been treading in place. I feel like I'm not making forward progress. I'm not really growing. If you are a stuck gym owner, what is the trick for getting unstuck?
Well, so just briefly, like if I look back to the first year we published this guide, the median income for a gym owner was $23,400. And we actually pulled that off sites like Glassdoor at the time. We didn't even have that data. We were publishing other people's data. So we have doubled in that time. And if I look back at like what has created that doubling effect, it's systemization. So you you start to run a professional gym instead of just like the Chris show. That's the first thing. The second thing is like a focus on ARM, especially like the CrossFit gyms back in 2000, 2008, 2007, 2008 started going into these big group classes. That's when they really started to struggle. And you had these gurus recommending, you just, open up and get 300 members. And of course, like gym owner income actually went down, right? They were making less than Glassman was making, which tells you that something was out of sync there. And then, around 2018, gym owners actually had a pretty good year. It spiked because Facebook ads were cheap and super duper effective. Well, as they've gone downhill in efficacy, but also gone up in price, like you have to get better and better at them. So the bottom line is like, what actually makes these gym owners earn more? It's not a single trick. It's not a single method. It's the skill of the gym owner. When I started out, we all thought it was just enough to be a good coach and get people great results. Over time, we've now grown to understand that you have to actually have some business skills. And those skills are focus. Those skills are understanding marketing. Those skills are knowing how to sell. Those skills are like building a goal review process so that you can actually get ahead of the client. It's not enough to show up, throw a great big birthday party every single day, triage client movement problems. Like that's just not going to be sustainable long term. So the biggest change is the skill set of the owner. We're lifting that ceiling effect. And I think we'll just continue to lift that ceiling even more. And that's what's going to get us to 100K. One example, John, is like the book that you really encouraged me to write last year at this time, which was The Golden Hour. If I look at the people in Two Brain who are growing the fastest, the millionaires, the people who are living at their perfect day level, they all have the skill of focus. They all take 1 hour every day to do one thing to grow their business. Struggling gym owners don't do that. Struggling gym owners work harder than those people do, but they get less accomplished. So they're at their gym at 5:30. They're leaving their gym at 9:30 at night. They're totally exhausted. If I ask them, before you go to sleep, tell me one thing you did to grow your business today, they can't answer, and I've been in that trap too. That's one example. Like that's a business skill that as we mature as gym owners, more and more of us have, and the people who don't have it are gone, so owner income improves, unfortunately, like because some people are doing better and the ones who are doing worse just don't make it, which to me is a real shame.
I don't want to talk about stuff like focus and discipline and boring work. Let's talk about shiny objects. That's what people want to hear on the podcast. All right.
Oh, then TikTok's the answer.
So yeah, you get access to a lot of people that other people don't. You spend a lot of time researching what's happening in the industry. What models, what trends, what technology, like what's got you excited? What makes you optimistic or feeling good, or what's coming down the pipeline in the next 3 to 5 years that gym owners should be jazzed up about?
Well, so earlier you said you've been telling people to make content for years, and it's, the advice that's taken least, and AI makes that super duper easy. I think we live right at this super nexus right now where content is really important to getting people to chase fitness, getting people excited about sticking with their fitness, celebrating their milestones. And it's never been easier to make content. Instead of understanding how to write a blog post, how to shoot a video, and getting expensive stuff, all you got to do is take 6 minutes to learn how to use ChatGPT or Claude, and all that stuff is just done for you, including the art, which is amazing. And we're at this nexus that won't last very long. The second thing that makes me excited is that while this nexus is crazy powerful right now and understanding it gives you enormous leverage, there is going to be a backside of that within the next 2 years where some of our best clients will not trust what they see online. They won't be trusting digital content. They will be very wary of using AI and chatbots, and they will defer back to person-to-person interaction more than ever before. This came up for me the first time around July. I was barbecuing on my back deck. My neighbor walked over. He's an insurance broker, Jeff. And I said, dude, like with all this AI out there, you better get out of the insurance broker business. Nobody's going to buy from you. And he said, your parents will. What are you talking about? And what he meant was that the the older generation are the canaries in the coal mine. They're already very wary of AI. And I think you're going to see that in my generation and then in the younger generation too, where we want more person-to-person contact. We're getting less and less of it. We're living through our phones. We're distrustful of chatbots and agents. And I want to come in and shake your hand and see you face to face every day, John. So that's got me really excited too and very optimistic. And the third thing is that as we all gain more time and our health gets worse, the prominence of coaching becomes bigger and bigger. When I started this career, nobody had a personal trainer. This was 1996 when I had 1998, I had my first personal training client. And it was just people who wanted to say that they had a personal trainer. Now coaching is everywhere. You can't go to a gym without being offered coaching. You can't talk to somebody without hearing about their coach, and so coaching has become accepted. My grandparents would have no understanding of what I do for a living, but my kids sure do. And my kids will have coaches for the rest of their lives. And those three things together make me super optimistic, not just for the fitness industry, but also for the opportunity of gym ownership.
So if you're a coaching gym owner, are you staying up at night worrying about robots, coaching all your classes?
I'm staying up all night dreaming of which robots I can hire next. So honestly, John, we've got this cool tool, and I haven't shared this with anybody yet, but inside Two Brain, what we're doing right now is we're giving our clients prompts. So, hey, in the past, if you wanted to do your social media and do your ads and create the content and coach the classes and cleaning, you're talking about a staff of about 6 people there. But now, a lot of those can just be done by the bots really, really quickly. And I've been testing this now for almost a year. My first pass at programming is done by AI in about 27 minutes is my personal record for getting a month of programming done. Then I'll take a break. I'll walk away from it for 2 days. I'll come back. I'll tweak it. I'll make it a little bit more fun, more crisp, But all told, my programming for the month is less than an hour and a half of work. Every single morning to do my marketing for my gym takes me now 6 minutes is my record. Here's the workout of the day. Please prepare me a social media graphic, or here's the podcast episode transcription. Please give me 5 social media graphics. Claude has that done for me in about 6 minutes. So every day I'm thinking how else can I leverage what's in my head using the tools that are available through AI?
Well, we talked a little bit about content. I'll let you plug the State of the Industry link one more time, but for the first time in ever, Chris Cooper is active as an individual on Instagram. So where do people go if they want to see
Sorry, John,
videos of old bumper plates and whatever else you're posting over there?
Well, first, the important thing here is get this report. John and I work really, really hard on it. Mike Workington is, just an industry superstar that puts this all together every year. And our partners at Kilo and Wattify especially, they provide all the meat for this, and I just get to give commentary. So twobrainbusiness.com/data. One of the things that I'm excited about in my personal life is working with Dan Martell again. Dan and I get along great. I just love the guy. And frankly, he gave me this personal challenge to post on Instagram 3 times a day for 30 days. And so, of course, he knows what makes me uncomfortable. So if you go to @Coach Chris Cooper, you'll see my attempts. And most days I get 2. Rarely I'll get 3, but it's mostly just what I'm thinking about and doing right now. And it just hit me last week that I should show some of my old equipment that I bought in 2005. It's in my garage now. And, so I just started showing pictures of here's the unbroken bumper plates from back then. And people are being very kind to me so far.
The CrossFit version of Here in My Garage, or probably the Canadian CrossFit version.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you want to learn more about us, you can just get yourself a copy of the State of the Industry, and you can just go to page 27.5, and you can see the Kilo ad.
Yep. So good.
And gives you a nice little deal there where you get 50% off your first 3 months of that full bundle. So get yourself some gym management software, a nice little website to get you some more leads, and some marketing automation software to get more of those leads scheduled. We can't sell them for you, so you're going to have to take care of that sales problem by yourself or with the Two Brain mentor, but we can help you with the rest of it. So head over to usekilo.com and click book a call if you like making money. And Chris, thanks for taking the time. Yeah, sleeping. I like sleeping. So I don't do much of it with the amount of kids I have, but it would be nice.
Knowing that Kilo is running 24 hours a day and, nurses on the night shift at my local hospital are filling in that form at 2 a.m., it really does help me sleep at night because, nobody gets left behind.
Well, we appreciate the kind words and looking forward to doing this again for the 2026 edition.
Thanks, man.